Hi, and welcome to another edition of Small Talk from the Tall Pines. You'll notice that later on in this show that I'll be wearing different clothes, and that's just because that we recorded this a while back ago. You'll want to watch this episode because it has a special guest with Dan Hagen from WJFW. So come on back after this, and we'll see you on Small Talk from the Tall Pines.
On this season of Wisconsin Monster Hunters, Search of the Hodag. Yeehaw! Now on this season of Wisconsin Monster Hunters, we're going after the elusive Hodag.
Well, Hodag has been terrorizing this area for hundreds of years, and we're here to take it down.
I feel uneasy. It's like we're being watched.
Something's moving out here. We're out here looking for Hodags, and we're here dang Hoogag.
Now let's not confuse a Hoogag with a Hodag. A Hoogag is a big feller that ain't got no kneecaps. So when it walks like this. Sleep, it has to lean up against a tree. Ain't no Hodag calling. That there's a Hoogag.
Bubblefoot, I think I found some tracks. Bubblefoot! Ricky!
Watch an all-new season of Wisconsin Monster Hunters every Sunday at 2 a.m. on the Shopping Channel.
And welcome back to Small Talk from the Tall Pines, and my special guest today is Mr. Dan Hagen from WJFW, the evening news anchor. And why don't you tell us where you came from before coming up here?
Well, first off, Tom, I'm honored to be here. Great to be in this set. You have a great log cabin here at Tom's Drawing Board, so that's always good to see. So I came from Appleton, Wisconsin, grew up there, good childhood, went to St. Olaf College after high school, that's in Minnesota. I studied math at St. Olaf, and I kind of was getting sick of my corporate job after college, and I grew up with a cabin in Arborvita, and we always watched Channel 12 on the weekends, mostly get the weather, the snow conditions, and I was up in my cabin one day, and all of a sudden I was watching Channel 12, and I thought, you know, that could be fun. I should do something like that. So I applied on a whim, and I got the job. I've been there for 4 years now. It's been great.
Oh, so you didn't actually go to school for like journalism?
No, not at all. I did not think I would be doing this in college. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that math homework was more fun than the other homeworks. You probably disagree with that.
I totally disagree with that.
But I always liked the sense of accomplishment and kind of the mental challenge of it all, to figure out a problem, figure out an answer. Of course, later in math, you get to a little more theoretical stuff. Didn't like that as much. It's still fun. But I really enjoyed math homework way more than writing papers and even art, sadly.
For me, shame on you. For me, once you start adding letters with the numbers, that I'm done.
Oh, that's when it starts to get really interesting.
Yeah, alphabets and numbers together, that doesn't jive with me.
That's fair. You know, I think you found a good spot here. I really like your studio.
Well,
so
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I love doing what I do, just like you love doing what you do.
Yeah, it works out.
So what are your future aspirations then? Are you planning on moving up to like Good Morning America? Or?
No, I think, you know, I actually want to start an art store. I think I'm going to start Dan's Drawing Board.
Wonderful.
I've already picked out a location.
I like the name.
At, I'm going to Bucketheads.
Mm-hmm.
They've already sold the building to me. It's right next door to Tom's Drawing Board.
Nice.
So it's going to be Dan's Drawing Board, #1 drawing board.
The number
on
one.
Brown Street.
Absolutely. Yeah, it has to be, because, you know, mine is always known as #2. So there's got to be a #1 somewhere.
I always thought that would be kind of fun to like have, like, own one business, but kind of make up a fun rivalry between like two storefronts. You know, wouldn't that be like? I feel like that would be a good way to draw a business.
That would be a good way to draw a
like,
business.
you know what you should do is you should create an alter ego named Tim.
Tim, yeah.
And have Tim's Drawing Board when you expand. and you wear like a Phantom of the Opera mask or something.
Or just an eye patch.
Or an eye patch.
Yes.
That would be even better.
Yes.
Wear an eye patch.
They'll be like, "You're Tom." No, I'm Tim. I have an eye patch.
Yeah, if you don't like Tom, well, go over to Tim.
Yeah.
He's kind of the darker, edgier side.
Yeah, that way I get both of the deals going on. I like that.
But to answer your question, I think I'm just gonna stick around for now. I have no, big aspirations. I don't want to be on the Good Morning America. That doesn't interest me at all. I like living in the Northwoods, so I'm gonna stick here for the time being.
Yeah, and past episode I had Devin Biggs on, and he's one of your coworkers.
He's great.
And I asked him what his aspirations were if he was going to, I gave him a scenario. If Al Roker said, you know what, I'm going to retire tomorrow, and there's this great weather guy up there in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and I'm going to call Devin Biggs and see if he can just take over for me. And he said he actually didn't know if he would take that or not. I'm like, that's crazy.
I think one thing about the world and the media is we really seem to celebrate rising to the top of the field, going to the bigger market, especially in journalism. That is, for whatever reason, the goal. And I think that shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to, find a place where you feel like you're making an impact, where you feel like you can be comfortable, yet also challenge yourself. So I think Devin, upon thinking about it, would rather stay here, even though that's the expectation is, hey, you got to go to New York City. There's more to life than just rising the ranks in some arbitrary system.
100% agree. I 100% agree. I'm quite content in my little art studio in northern Wisconsin, as opposed to hitting all the big conventions in Chicago and all that. So,
but let's say the producers of Bob Ross called you, right?
Sure.
And they're like, I want to start a redo of Bob Ross. You got to fly out to New York City.
I wouldn't be anywhere near New York City. I'm like, with today's technology, you can satellite record me, whatever you got to do. But I came from Illinois a while back ago, almost 10 years now. And whenever someone says, I'm going to Chicago for the weekend, I always ask, on purpose?
Right.
So, because I am not a big city person.
Me neither. I'll tell you kind of maybe not traumatic, but it was traumatic for me when I was a kid. My brother was in high school on the band, and my dad, who's a doctor, he retired a few years ago, but he was the doctor on the trip, and I was 5th grade or something. But we went to Los Angeles, and we were just walking around, and I got lost in Los Angeles for an hour.
Wow.
And that was really traumatic for me for a long time. And I really was kind of repelled from cities after that. I was thankfully found, but I had a lot of, I was trying to talk to a police officer there, and she wouldn't help me at all.
What?
And she couldn't speak English.
Oh my God.
She could only speak Spanish. So she just kind of left me, this crying, 5th grader.
Makes sense.
Eventually my brother found me. So that's maybe one part of my subconscious aversion to cities, but also I like seeing trees and lakes, and I don't like buildings. They kind of make me anxious.
Yeah.
So I don't know, why do you think you don't like cities as much?
I used to visit Chicago a lot as a kid because we lived in the northern suburbs. So living that close, you just hop on a train and go into the city for a day and all that. And I don't know, it's just dirty. It's just a lot of weird people. you know, I celebrate all sorts of different people. I'm like, hey, whatever. I accept you for who you are and all that. But the city, it's like, man, I just hope you don't hurt me. And
yeah, there's parts of that.
And I don't know. It just has this depressing feeling on me, all the big tall gray buildings blocking out all the sun and all that. Yeah. I'm like you, I'm an outdoorsman. I like to fish and hunt and all that kind of stuff. So living up here is much better for my senses.
Well, I think you'd appreciate this. This is a fact about people's perceptions of objects. Do you know fractal art? Mm-hmm. So for people at home, basically nature has this certain ratio. If you look at a tree, it's kind of if you think about a branch as a the trunk. If you think about a branch as a trunk, then that's like another tree. And if you think about the smaller branch as another trunk, you know, so that idea that it's kind of growing on each other and multiplying, that's kind of like a fractal, and that is shown to be like more soothing and calming. But when you think about the architecture of most cities, they're just like boxes. And it's been proven through like CT scans that people just get anxious when they see like tight corners and like perfect 90 degrees. I think there's part of that.
I think we just had a breakthrough here, because I'm always asked why I do landscapes and all that. And I said because I can't stand painting or creating like buildings and stuff like that, because they're just too rigid and all that kind of stuff. And I never really understood my aversion to it, other than I just like to be more free with myself. I think that explains a lot.
No, it's proven. There's been studies that just that very regimented architecture is anxiety-inducing. So that's cool.
Yeah. Breakthrough, man. Dr. Dan here.
I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express once. So
that'll do it. Yeah. So you have covered a whole bunch of different stories in the area. What is your favorite story that you've covered so far, and your least favorite?
Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.
What was that?
Sorry, I had to attend to something. But I think you had a question, or what was that?
Yeah, what is your most favorite story and your least favorite story?
Okay, sorry, I'm just kind of thinking about what I was just doing, so let me kind of get into the mode here. Okay, so least favorite story. It's hard to say. Let me do favorite story. I like featuring like really interesting people that are very different. Like this one guy I talked to up in Woodruff for Arborvita. He's a book binder. His name is Florian Bieschke. He's just this wonderful guy, and he does basically this lost art of binding old books together, how they used to do for centuries before they had these mass-produced machines. So it's just kind of neat learning. I really like to learn. That's kind of my driving factor in this job. And I can't really say I have a least favorite. I think I just kind of repress those memories and don't think about them as much.
So a lot of times, like when you first started out, you were going out on scene a lot. And now it looks like you spend a lot of time more so behind the desk.
Right.
Do you find different rewards in those different aspects?
Yeah, certainly. It was so fun to meet people. I've always enjoyed talking to people that I've never met. I just think that's so stimulating. So that was really fun for me, because this job as a reporter, in my early days, it was basically an excuse to go up to any person and just talk to them. So that was really fun, and it was very satisfying to make this story, and you could pretty much make it perfect. And then it would go on air, and it was very polished.
Sure.
So that was really fun, very satisfying. But as a person who reads the news now, every day I'm going to make a mistake on the air, right? Because it is live television. Sometimes out of my control, sometimes in my control. So that's been something I've been trying to work on ever since I started. Was you got to have that balance between that desire to be really good. You don't want to be apathetic about your job, but you also don't want to be too hard on yourself, because no one is perfect. Even Al Roker and whoever, they make mistakes too.
Sure.
So that's a little tougher, but on the same side, it is fun to write a lot of different stories, because not only am I reading the stories, I'm pretty much writing at least half of them, usually more. So that's fun. I like writing.
Very cool. Now we put together a little little clip here of you in action. So let's take a look at that.
Good morning and happy Wednesday, everybody. You know the saying, the early bird gets the worm. Well, that applies to everyone who's awake right now. But the late worm gets to watch late sports. That didn't come out in my head as good. Actually, I'm gonna start over. Well, Conrad, it was sorry, Conrad. This is embarrassing. Chase, I'm so sorry. You and your compadre look very similar. But tell me about what's coming up this weekend. We've had a very kind of hot week.
Yeah,
right?
no, we just had some showers not too long ago.
So that, Dan, was kind of a blooper reel.
Yeah.
And I thank you for providing some of the humor in that. What other parts of the job do you find rewarding? Because you have a new title now, too.
Right, yeah, so I'm assistant news director. So it is kind of fun to have ideas for stories, and in the past I would go implement that. But now I'm having other people implement it, and then I'm trying to perfect it, just making little changes. Because they'll hand me their script at the end of their kind of writing period during the day, and then I'll try to make some changes, and they'll usually receive them. Sometimes they don't want to change them, that's okay. So that is fun to kind of have that oversight and hopefully, you know, inspire people to keep getting better. And because, you know, I want them to be better. A lot of them won't be staying in Rhinelander, and they'll be going on to bigger and better places. So I just hope that we left a good impression on them.
Sure. No, that's very cool. So I think the big question on everybody's mind is, what's it like working with the infamous Jeff Weller?
Okay, so as you were saying that, I was like, is this going to be the infamous Devin Biggs or the infamous Jeff Weller? Because both have very eccentricities. Both are eccentric people, for sure.
Sure.
Jeff is very upbeat, he's very positive, but he can also kind of lay down the law if he needs to.
Really?
Which is probably people don't expect that, but you know, in his prior life, he worked for the Cheesecake Factory, and he would like go around the country like hiring and firing people. So he's got that bone in them.
I cannot see
I know.
all.
But it is cool because, you know, he has more experience with that. And I'm trying to get better at like conflict because I'm pretty averse to conflict. So it's hard for me to be like, hey, you need to do this right now or else this isn't gonna happen. I can do it sometimes, but I don't like doing it all the time. And he's good at doing that. But more importantly, he's just a very positive influence on the newsroom. And he's also, I think Jeff and I are both really weird people. So that brings out other people's weirdness and like lets them feel more comfortable, I'd say. Hope so.
Last time I was on up north at 4, he came over and actually powdered my forehead for me. So yeah, it was very nice.
We honestly have a lot of fun at the office, and we are constantly joking and ribbing each other. Yeah, we have a good time.
Yeah, it is always fun visiting the station because, you know, before anything goes on air and all that, there's this period of time where you're just kind of sitting there and taking it in and just joking around with who's ever in the room and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very laid back atmosphere. I think that brings a level of calmness at the guests that are there.
Yeah.
You know, because by the time you actually do get on the couch and go on the air, you kind of have a rapport already with them and everything.
Right.
So I think that's a really cool way of getting your guests comfortable. And I've been on some of the shows like once or twice, I think. And it's always a fun time to visit the station. So
yeah, and you know, it can be nerve-wracking for people to get on there, and it really is a big leap of faith. Maybe not so coming on Up North at 4, but we've interviewed you before in the past, and it's a leap of faith for you and other people who have interviewed because your kind of portrayal is completely in our hands. So that is something we do not take for granted, and we try to make people feel comfortable and just make sure that it's a positive experience because it's something that most people would never do.
Right.
Maybe that's different in Rhinelander. I feel like everyone has been interviewed in Rhinelander.
Pretty much.
But we have a unique situation here with the TV station.
Yeah, so my takeaway from what you just said is you can make me look like a saint or you can make me look like a devil. It all depends on which way you want to go.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is true. It is weird how much kind of responsibility you have. So I just try to tell our reporters that you want to make sure that you portray them as accurately as possible, and you don't want to end the video like, if you take a still image, let's say, of someone interviewing, maybe me right now, I could have a really weird face just because of the syllable that I'm pronouncing.
Right.
So it's our responsibility to not have, the front page have Tom Barnett with a tongue sticking out or something. So yeah, it's very serious, the responsibility we have.
Well, that's very, very cool. It sounds like you love your job, you take it seriously, but you have a lot of fun with it, and really what more can you ask for in a job?
Right, and I feel like I make an impact. One story I like to tell is I worked at this healthcare company for a few years after college, and on my first day at Channel 12, I went to a dog's birthday party. I think it was K9 Odin with the Rhinelander Police Department, and even though it was a dog's birthday party, I honestly felt like I made more of an impact that day. Thousands of people, perhaps tens of thousands of people, seeing that story about a dog's birthday party rather than me, inputting code on my computer at my old job.
Right.
So it's pretty cool to make an impact. I know you make an impact too. You inspire a ton of people with your painting.
Well, thank you.
So we all have our different roles in society.
I think we do too. There's not one person that's lesser than the other in my belief.
I think so too.
Because we all have a piece in the cog of the wheel of life. So
yeah, and we're all in different, states on our final goal of self-actualization, human flourishing. So
100%.
you can't judge people for where they're at because either you've been there or you'll be there in the future. So yeah, we're all just trying our best.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, Dan, it was a pleasure talking to you here on the show. Do you got anything you want to plug?
The New North magazine, which we're both a part of, you can find that, I believe, is it Tom's Drawing Board or Tim's?
Tom's.
Okay, does
It's
Tim's
definitely
not have
Tom's.
it?
Tim's is not open yet. That's in the next spring.
Okay, yeah, you're on bad terms with Tim right now, right?
It's that eye patch that drives me nuts.
Oh yeah, he's so smug with that eye patch. No, and then tune in to Newswatch 12. If you have Twitter, I am Hagen WI on Twitter. I try to make funny things on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
It usually doesn't work out, but I think they're still funny. So maybe
you don't have TikTok?
Too. I don't have TikTok. That's too addictive.
Really?
I had it for like a week and
You got nothing done.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just a brain suck. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I'm I'm a believer in you'll enjoy something and that's good, but your enjoyment will wane and get out while your enjoyment is waning before you're like not enjoying it at all.
And you won't be a patsy to the Chinese government.
That too, that is also kind of sketchy. I don't really know much about it, but it worries me a bit.
Yeah, it worries me too sometimes.
Yeah.
But a lot of things worry me, so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Dan, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming on, and we will see you again right here on Small Talk from the Tall Pines.